Let's dive into a pretty radical idea. What if marketing wasn't just about selling us stuff? What if it could actually be a genuine force for good in the world? Today we're looking at the groundbreaking philosophy of Mastercard's marketing chief, Raja Rajamannar, and how he's actually putting this incredible idea into action. So, let me start with a question for you. We all kind of assume marketing's job is to sell, right? But what if that's not the whole story? What if its real power, its true purpose, is something way bigger? What if it could actually make the world a better place? And that's the core idea we're going to unpack here. This belief that marketing has a higher calling, one that goes way beyond just profit and aims to create a real, lasting, positive impact. Look, marketing has always been a force for growth. And it has to be, right? A business needs to grow. But this new way of thinking says that when you combine that with being a force for good, that's when you unlock its true potential. It's not about choosing one over the other. It's about realizing that doing good is what ultimately drives that growth. According to Rajamannar, marketing has always boiled down to three main jobs. First, you've got to build the brand, what it stands for, what people feel about it. Second, you have to actually advance the business, bring in revenue. And third, you've got to create that key difference that sets you apart from everyone else. These have always been the foundations. But here's the big twist, the real game changer. When you inject force for good into that mix, everything changes. The whole perspective shifts. It reframes every decision you make and unlocks a completely new level of impact. Okay, so that's the big idea. But how do you actually do it? How do you make it happen in the real world? Well, it takes a whole new playbook, a framework that Rajamannar calls quantum marketing. Let's break that down. So here's the fundamental problem. Almost every marketing rule we follow was written for a world that doesn't exist anymore. We're talking 60, 70 years ago, a time with no internet, no social media, no smartphones, no AI. That rulebook is totally obsolete.
And it's not just that the old rules don't really work anymore. In some cases, they're actually holding us back. It's like we're trying to play a video game with a rulebook for checkers. It just doesn't work. It is absolutely time to tear up that old playbook and start fresh.
And that's exactly where quantum marketing comes in. Look, this isn't about making a few small adjustments. This is about a complete and total reinvention. It's about questioning every single one of those old assumptions and building a new marketing framework from the ground up for the world we actually live in today. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But what does it actually look like when you put it into practice? Let's dive into three incredible stories from Mastercard that really bring this whole philosophy to life. First up, the True Name Card. And what's so powerful about this is that it wasn't born from some business objective. This entire initiative started by listening to a very real, very personal, and often painful problem faced by the transgender and non-binary community. Just imagine for a second that feeling of anxiety every time you go to pay for something. The name on your card doesn't match your identity, and suddenly you're facing suspicion, humiliation, or even being denied service. The human cost was huge. So the solution was actually pretty simple, but incredibly profound. Let people use their chosen name on their card, no legal name change required. And the result? It was phenomenal. This idea, born from purpose, is now active in over 28 countries. But here's the really amazing part. It also became one of Mastercard's most profitable products. It's the ultimate proof that when you focus on doing good, the business success often follows. Next, let's talk about the Touch Card. This is just a beautiful example of how a really simple, elegant innovation can bring a huge amount of independence to people who are blind or partially sighted.
The solution is so simple, it's brilliant. They created a system of small notches on the side of the card. Based on the shape of that notch, is it a half hexagon, a C shape, a V shape? A user can instantly tell if it's their credit, debit, or prepaid card. They can also tell which way to insert it into a machine, all just by touch.
And the impact has been just massive. The Touch Card is now in over 35 countries, giving millions of people a brand new level of financial independence. I mean, it is an absolute game changer, and it was born completely out of empathy. Now, this final example, wow. This one is incredibly powerful. When the war in Ukraine started, it created this massive humanitarian crisis. So Mastercard stepped in, using its tech and its marketing know-how to make a real, tangible difference. They built this simple app that essentially became a lifeline for refugees who had fled to Poland. It gave them access to everything they needed to start rebuilding their lives, finding jobs, securing a place to live, enrolling their kids in school, even just understanding the local cost of living. It was basically a resettlement tool right in their pocket. And get this,
The impact was just breathtaking. 1 in every 5 Ukrainian refugees who settled in Poland used this app. It was so effective that the Polish government actually adopted it and made it their official solution. Now that is what purpose-driven marketing looks like on a national scale.
Okay, so it's pretty clear this philosophy works for a global giant like Mastercard. But what about for us? For you and me? Let's bring this all down to a personal level and see how we can actually apply these exact same principles to our own lives.
Because the same logic applies, right? How do you build your own personal brand? How do you move your career forward and stand out from the crowd in a way that feels real and meaningful?
Well, it really comes down to 3 key things. First, be authentic. Seriously, people can spot a fake from a mile away. Second, outperform. Consistently deliver value that makes you stand out. And third, and this one is so important, embrace what they call the decency quotient. At the end of the day, it just means being a good person.
And, it all boils down to this one powerful idea. Being ruthless might seem like a way to get ahead in the short term, but it's decency, it's authenticity, and it's purpose that give you the real, lasting advantage over time. So whether you're a massive global brand or just building your own path, the ultimate strategy is exactly the same. Do well by doing good.